Hi, welcome to Coding Bible channel. In this video, I will talk about the two-way binding in Angular, and this is the last type of data binding. To use the two-way binding, we have to use a directive called ngModel. Don't worry, I will explain what is directive in the following videos. But for now, we have to use forms module because the ngModel is found inside it, ngModel, and we will bind it to the title. Now you can see that when we save this code, we can see the value library here, which is the value inside the title. And also, if we change anything here, it will be reflected also to the title, and we can see the value of the title here. So this means that by the two-way binding, we mean binding the input to the title and the title to the input, because there is another case that we will see in a moment. This case, some people consider it as a two-way binding, but it is not two-way binding. But for now, let's talk about this. You can see here that I used the square brackets that we have used before in property binding, and also I use the parentheses that we have used before also for event binding. So does this mean that we can separate event and binding here? Yes, we can. As you can see, we have just bind the title to the input, and this is obvious because the value of the title here is found here. But if we write anything here, it will not be reflected to the title, because we need the event of the ngModel, which is called ngModel change. And to use it, we will write title equal event, and don't forget the $sign. Now it works fine as we expected. As you can see here, ngModel change is an event, but it's not a non-event in JavaScript, which means that we can create custom events in Angular. And we also here use the $sign event, but the $sign event here solo holds the value of the input, but the event in the normal event or the non-event JavaScript will hold an object that has many properties, and to access the value for the input, for example, you have to write event.target.value. But here no, in the custom events in Angular, we can send any value we want, okay? But in the ngModel here, we can get the value directly. So what has happened here is that when we change the input, the value will be held by this event, and this event will update the value of the title. And of course, if we also, for some reason, the title is updated in the class, it will be updated in the template, which means this is the two-way binding from the template to, or from the input to the class, and from the class to the input. So let's see the other way that people think that is a two-way binding, but it is not a two-way binding. Some people do this input. This is called an HTML variable, and then they use the input event and do this title equal input dot value. We can write anything here and will be reflected, okay, but this is not considered as two-way binding because we use the event binding, which is the one-way binding from the input to the title or the class, and we use interpolation, which is the one-way binding also. The concept of two-way binding in Angular is to bind a variable in the class with the same element here. This means is that the value of the title should be reflected inside the input here, and any change in the input will be reflected in the title. This is the concept of two-way binding, but what we do here is not a two-way binding, okay? It's a one-way binding. I show you this case because I want you to understand the concept of two-way binding very well. And this is the end of the video, and if you have any question, don't hesitate to tell us. And thank you for watching.